Welcome back. Today's course is going to be on record labels and dealing with them. And what does that look like? It's a very common question that I get mostly all the time from artists. Indie versus record deal, what should I do? How should I approach it? When to sign, how to sign. So, I got a little something to say about it. Like to hear about it? Here you go. So, listen, it's definitely now 2021 is totally different from 17 years when I got into the business. The record business back then looked sort of the same from probably the beginning of time. There was a traditional deal where there was the big players that kind of controlled everything with royalty type distribution label deals, meaning a artist would sign to a label, they could possibly get an advance, upfront cash, and for that, they relinquish 100% of the rights of their music for a royalty percentage of the sales, which was usually on average 10 to 12% of the revenue for whether it's a single or an album. So, it was definitely archaic, and I'm glad that technology kind of helped give artists new ways to have a little bit more freedom within their music. All the stories that you hear back from the past, the Temptations, you can watch any one of these movies, and you usually see a situation where an artist has signed themselves into some type of deal, probably not knowing, what those black and white terms are, and what that royalty really means, and always end up broke. Because, sometimes, and, they look at the advance and the first money that they getting, which it's literally a recoupable advance. So 9 times out of 10, you're paying all that money back. And until you pay that money back, you won't even be able to see anything off of a percentage. And sometimes if that advance is large, you got to understand. And then labels in the traditional deals, they would pay every 9 to 12 months. So just imagine that. You take a lot of money, you think you're rich, you blowing through a lot. And not only do they recoup the advance they gave back, if the label stickers that you took to wrap CDs, the covers, everything you saw that had to do with your project. You was traveling to a TV performance, anything that they had to do, all that had to get recouped before you even saw 12 cents off of a dollar. If the single was $1 before, you saw 12 cents per record. So you have to understand, at that point, that album might not be hot anymore. You might not be generating as much income. So artists wasn't making money in music. And I said it in a touring class that their bread and butter mostly came off of the road. So that's the old guard. That's the way it used to be. Digital age, the digital era kind of blew all that up. It allowed artists opportunities to self-distribute themselves, put their own music out, and reclaim 100% of ownership of their music, which is great. So it allowed many more people to put music out. You have plenty more artists. I think at some point a couple months ago, I saw a stat where 60,000 songs a day was getting uploaded to Spotify, which is insane. So it's that many people that's literally able to put out music. Now, you think that that's great. Wow, I get to put out music. I have control over my entire situation. It's dope. Managers, no, it's not always the best situation, right? There's pros and cons to any type of deal. These are all distribution type situations. It's just different forms of distribution, which means we were talking about in the publishing class, music compositions and sound recorders, which is places that you make money. And the sound recording is usually the finished product that you have to go seek a distribution for. If you self-distribute, if you upload to like a TuneCore or a DistroKid, United Masters, some form of platform like that, you are the label. So self-distribution, you are the record label. That means that you control 100% of the rights. You pay a little fee for the examples of those platforms to get your music everywhere, right? And then there's median type partnerships, which is usually called net profits deal, where you may go 50-50. And I think there's companies like Blueprint Distro, like mine, and Empire Music that will put some funds behind you, to make sure they market, give you some label services, a team, and from that they partner with you, and you kind of split everything down the after all the costs is paid up front. You know, you split things, and the split varies on possibly how much money you take up front of what you need. You know, that could vary. You know, from 50-50 to 80-20, 75-25 in artist's favor. So that's a more favorable deal because you're still owning more of your product, but you're paying a little bit to get some services that you may need in order to pop. And then there's the royalty type deal, the royalty distribution deal, which is what we know as the major label play, you know. And traditionally, that's been, you're gonna get a lot of money, and you're gonna get services. You're gonna get services for teams around to work in different departments to try to put out your music. But most of the time, and traditionally, it's come at a cost of you being in something long term. For one, the average is like 6 albums, and then you relinquishing 100% of your rights to your music. So people always ask me, Taz, should I do indie? Should I do a major royalty distribution or signed to a major label? When should I do these things? Is it the pros and cons? So these is my advice to you on how I look at it. I think that each one of those different type of distribution models have their pros and they have their cons, right? And I feel like they should be used at certain points and based off of your circumstances or situations. Let's say you're a new artist and you have money to support, because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of money to be a superstar. That's a fact. So I want to get that out there. It takes money in order to make it in this business, right? The digital age has caused it to take not as much money if you spend it the right way, but it still takes money in order to amplify your music out to people in order to gain some type of traction and gain fans, right? Let's take an artist who, if your artist has a financial backer that's willing to invest, that's fine. You know, you could go to the self-distribution, right? Go to a TuneCore, DistroKid, some form of fashion where one of these platforms allow you to retain 100% of your masters, and you have money to shoot your videos and create your artwork and all these things, all these assets that you'll need in and around the project. That's great, right? And you most likely do that, but what did I just say? There's 60,000 songs a day. How do you, shooting a video is cool, but how do you get that out to the people? What do you do? I tell you what you do. You know, sometimes that money, if you don't have the right resources and know the right people to put in place to help you break through the fat and gain the right eyeballs on your project, that money is in vain. So that indie deal may not be the best choice for you because you need someone to help you to cut through the fat in order to direct you and to know how to reach people and to get your artist's music into people's front face so they can discover your artist and they could grow. So money is not always the best situation if you don't know how to be resourceful with it. So I'm gonna go through these scenarios, pros and cons, and you got to figure out where you and your artist kind of fit in and what you want to do. So I gave you a situation. Now, if you do have money and you do know people, do know a person that's dope with digital marketing, and you got some dope publicists where you can help get out the messaging. You can help fund your artist touring and get things together in that space, and you got those connections, then that might be the best vehicle for you. If you don't have those things, then you might want to look into a hybrid of that, which is, these situations where you have net profit type distribution deals where you may not have 100%, but you're relinquishing some of that percentage in order to gain some expertise from some people who's been in the business and who's also going to invest a little cash in you. And now you're getting the best of both worlds. You have some ownership in your back pocket, and then you are also getting some services that you may very well need in order to try to cut through the fat and get your music to people's ears. The last situation is that I was discussing is the record label deal with itself, the traditional model. And I forgot to mention the 360s that's mandatory in there also. So you're not only giving up 100% of your music ownership, but they also taking money off of your touring and merchandise sales and all that for a large pot of upfront money and some royalty points off the revenue that's coming from the sound recording. Listen, I'm all for labels and going there when it's the right time. Because one thing you got to understand about a major label, right, is they're not called majors for anything. They have hundreds of clients. So if you're at Columbia and, they pick you up, you got a buzz, you put a track out, you're hot in these streets, you're streaming off one record. These days, the labels look at analytics. Technology has allowed them to be able to see something, calculate the streams, and know how much advance they should give you and what kind of risk they should take. And if they see something moving, you streaming, or you have some type of cultural moment, whether it's social media and all of the above, TikTok, all of the above, they're going to come for you. Whether you engage in it, I don't know. What you got to understand is, let's say you have that one hit, right? Your client has that one hit. They're coming knocking at your door to offer you a deal. As a manager, and you don't have relationships necessary in the business, don't understand how to navigate those record label systems, you have to understand there's thousands of artists that sign to these majors. So if you sign to Columbia and they're going to court you, it's going to look good. Hey, that courting is going to look great. You know what I'm saying? They're going to make sure, they're going to make it seem like you big. But once you get in, what I saw die in the business was artist development. They don't believe in that. They don't believe in that anymore. I haven't seen it. They believe in, I just need you to do exactly what you just did to have this one hit song that you got buzzing on your own. If you get to that point, get to a certain point, then we will implement the whole services. Because you got to understand, you got thousands of artists. So let's say this artist signed to Columbia and Beyonce decide, I want to drop a project. Who you think they're going to direct all the traffic, the whole building to? So you have to understand, when you jump into a label, you're jumping into an ocean. So not only you might get that advance, that courting, everything seems good, but if you don't know how to have the right relationships in the building, and you got to understand this one team has thousands of artists to look over, you are a fish in an ocean. So you got to be prepared for that in order to navigate that. And the only way to protect yourself and to make sure you get paid attention to is you enter the record label phase, the major phase, at the right time. You want to be hot as fish grease. I've used that before. You want to be LeBron James coming out of high school. You want to be that. Because at that point, not only will they pay attention to you once you get in there, then you can start negotiating and dictating terms like, yeah, you want me, I'm the hottest fish in the sea. So not only you gonna give me $10 million, I'm not giving you 100% of my masters. We could do this 50-50, and I'm not doing no 360 with you. If you come out that hot, then you start dictating terms. And I think that's the time you enter the label. So managers out there, I would always suggest pick those first two types of distribution models until you get to a point where you built enough buzz to where if you do decide to go to a label, that you go there with full negotiation power to dictate things on your terms. I mean, the most common trap door in the history of music has been the advance, the money. You know, especially if you haven't had money and they waive $5 million, it's just $1 million. You never had money in your life and they offer to make you a millionaire overnight. You know, that's a blinders right there. That's usually the red flag that most everybody fell into. Oh, let me give you this, let me give you some jewelry, let me buy you some cars. You saw the temptation and bring some Cadillacs. You know what I'm saying? That's usually the trap door that has been throughout the history of music. Money. They prey on, you know, there's no secret that we've been keys to culture, whether definitely hip hop, but also rock and roll, R&B. We've been the gatekeepers of that culture and the incubators of that. And they prey on the fact that our communities are poor. We come from poor backgrounds, and they just come there with that bag. And if you're not looking, you know, they get you. That's the first concept. They come with the bag. And the reason why they get you is because what I discussed in the legal course is because you don't have a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? You have to have somebody that knows what they're doing, that goes in there with you, that's not going to allow you to fall into that trap door or that trick bag. You know, that's what usually happens. A lot of money comes into play. You're like, oh, bump that. I need to sign. You know what I'm saying? They make you feel good in the beginning, and you never read the black and white to say, oh, yeah, I got you, but I own 100% of you, and I got you for 6 albums. You know what I'm saying? And I get 10% of your touring. And I get 10% of any shirt you sell. And I don't even have to set up no tour for you. But once you go on that stage, I get money off of that. If you get an endorsement deal, I get money off of that. If you get a commercial, I get money off of that. And people don't read in between the lines. And it was like that for a long time. And it's a damn shame, you know. But that's why I'm here, managers. You have to be that person to protect your clients. You got to be that person to have that know-how, you know. Artists should be artists. Let them be creative. Let them do their part in order to build the empire up. You need to be that person to pay attention to all those things. Entertainment attorney.